Welcome back to another deep dive. Today we're actually tackling something I think you've already been exploring, advanced Freemasonry.
Okay.
And you've provided us with excerpts from a textbook of advanced Freemasonry.
Right.
And I gotta say, it's a dense read.
Yeah.
So we're here to unpack it, especially for those of you who are, Freemasons, already familiar with some of these concepts.
Not good.
So let's get right to it. The book starts off almost like a teaser, dramatic language about what's to come in these higher degrees.
Yes.
So let's dive in and see if the content lives up to the buildup. First up, we're navigating towards the ancient and honorable fraternity of Royal Ark Mariners.
Okay, so this degree really centers on this idea of preservation, right?
Okay.
Using the story of Noah's Ark.
Okay.
It's not just about surviving a physical flood, but also safeguarding knowledge and how you pass it down.
Right. And the book really gets into some fascinating details about the ceremony.
Yes.
Candidates are blindfolded. They wear a cable 3 times around their neck and even encounter an olive branch or a myrtle. What's all that about?
Well, it's symbolic, right?
Okay.
So the blindfold represents the darkness of ignorance before you come into Masonic light.
Uh-huh.
The cable, that signifies the bonds of brotherhood.
Okay.
And the olive branch, well, that's classic, right?
Yeah.
Peace, new beginnings. It reflects the new understanding that the candidate gains through this degree.
And then there's the part where they have to step on an equilateral triangle, the candidate does,
Well,
with
yeah.
each step representing a different virtue.
Yes.
It's like physically enacting that path of moral development.
Exactly. It's visual kinesthetic,
Yeah.
reinforcing those virtues as you move through your journey.
Okay, but what really struck me, I have to say, was those penalties, right?
Uh-huh.
Talk about intense. The book describes a broken arm, your tongue being taken out, even being overwhelmed by water if you reveal these Masonic secrets.
Yeah, it seems a bit extreme even for secrecy.
It does. It really adds to that mystery, but it also, you can't help but think, like, wow, the weight of this oath,
It is.
Do you think that those were ever actually carried out, literally?
I mean, it's hard to say for sure,
Yeah.
but given the context, probably symbolic.
Right.
It's meant to, emphasize, underscore just how serious a commitment this is, upholding that trust, the responsibility.
Heavy stuff.
It is.
And that responsibility ties back to the ark itself.
Yeah.
It's not just a vessel for physical salvation,
Right.
but also a repository of knowledge to be protected, carried forward.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, what knowledge do we as Masons need to be preserving for future generations?
That's the question, isn't it?
It is.
The Royal Ark Mariner degree isn't just about remembering an event. It's about what's our role in continuing this.
All right, well, next up, we're setting our compasses toward the Mark Master's degree.
This one brings us to King Solomon's Temple,
Okay.
focusing on those marks used by the stonemasons.
Right, for identification and quality control.
Exactly.
Oh, and again, with the dramatic penalties.
Oh, yeah.
The book says, if you're an imposter trying to claim a Mark Master's wages, you could get your hand chopped off.
Wow.
It seems like there's a recurring theme here, protecting the integrity of the craft.
Definitely. Each Mason's mark was unique,
Right.
a symbol of their skill, responsibility for their work.
Makes sense.
To take credit for someone else's serious offense, right?
Yeah.
Both in operative masonry, but also the symbolic context.
The book claims that these marks were actually invented by Hiram Abiff himself.
Right.
And get this, it mentions that similar marks have been found in ancient ruins all over the world,
Wow.
even in Mexico and Central America.
Interesting.
That's pretty far-reaching. What do you make of that?
Well, the Hiram Abiff story is obviously central to Masonic lore,
Of course.
but him inventing the marks is probably more symbolic than historical.
Okay.
The point is, this degree connects us to those skilled craftsmen. Precision, integrity,
Right.
leaving our mark on the world.
Speaking of leaving your mark, have you encountered any specific marks or symbols in your journey that stand out to you?
That's a great question. I think every Mason has certain symbols or rituals that resonate more
Yeah.
than others.
Yeah,
It's personal.
it is.
But the idea of leaving a mark on the world, striving for excellence,
Right.
that's universal, at the core of what it means to be a Mason.
It's a powerful idea.
Yeah.
So from preserving that ancient wisdom to leaving our own mark on the world, we're seeing how these degrees build on each other,
Yes.
revealing different facets of that Masonic journey. Up next, we're ascending to the Holy Royal Arch degree.
The book calls this the perfection of the third degree,
Okay.
suggesting it's pivotal,
Right.
It's about the search for the lost word of God.
This ceremony's got some pretty intriguing details.
It does.
7 steps towards the sacred shrine,
Right.
each one bringing the candidate closer to the ineffable name of the deity. Talk about building anticipation.
That concept of ineffability is key here. Something beyond comprehension, right? Beyond words, 7 steps.
Yeah.
A gradual ascent towards this profound but ultimately indescribable truth.
And then the discovery of a scroll
Yeah.
containing the volume of the most holy law.
Hidden within a vaulted chamber.
Hidden. The book even mentions Hebrew characters and their interpretations.
Wow.
It's like uncovering a hidden code.
Yeah.
This lost piece of ancient wisdom.
Well,
What do you make of all that?
it's a powerful moment, isn't it?
It is.
Revelation.
Yeah.
It's the peak of that Masonic search for knowledge and enlightenment.
Right.
And the arch itself,
Without
it's
it.
not just a structural element.
Yep.
It's a gateway
Okay.
to a higher level.
A passage.
Yeah.
It makes you think about the arches in our own lives.
Yeah.
Those moments of, transition and transformation that lead us to those new insights.
On this side.
It really is. It makes you wonder, what are we each searching for, right?
Yeah.
Literally and symbolically.
Right.
What truths have we lost or forgotten? What do you think?
Perhaps it's a reminder that the journey never really ends. Always more to learn, to uncover, both within and around us.
Now let's explore the Knight of the Rose Croix de Herodom degree. This one the book describes as particularly philosophical,
Yes.
focusing on, freeing the mind from
Mhm.
limitations, seeking those higher truths. What do they mean by that, higher truths?
It's about going beyond the material world.
Okay.
Senses, right? Into the intellect, the spirit,
Okay.
wisdom, understanding, enlightenment, transcending those limitations of everyday experience.
One of the most intriguing elements here, I think, is the use of 3 chambers.
Yes.
A black room for reflection,
Right.
then a chamber with symbolic pillars,
Right.
and finally one where the focus is on the cross and the rose.
Interesting.
What do you make of that progression?
Think of it as a symbolic transformation.
Okay.
That black room, introspection, right?
Mhm.
Confronting the darkness, the limitations of your current understanding. Pillars, strength, support. The foundation as you rebuild your understanding.
Okay.
And then the final chamber with the cross and the rose.
Yeah.
Integration of spiritual and philosophical ideals, a blossoming of new knowledge.
The candidate also collects those symbolic letters F, H, C,
Ah, yes,
faith, hope, and charity.
of course.
Are those simply guidelines, or do they hold a deeper symbolic meaning here?
More than guidelines,
Oh,
guiding principles for the Rose Croix journey, right?
Okay.
Faith is trust in the process, even when it's uncertain. Hope, that's the belief that enlightenment's possible, even when there's darkness and doubt.
Right.
And charity may be most important,
Yeah.
sharing that knowledge with others, uplifting humanity.
And then there's that motto, ne plus ultra, meaning nothing further beyond.
Powerful.
Does that mean there's like a finality to the Masonic quest? Or is it more about reaching a certain understanding within this specific degree?
It invites multiple interpretations.
Yeah.
Some might see it as reaching the pinnacle, right?
Yeah.
Others might see it as a challenge to keep pushing those boundaries,
Right.
recognizing there's always more.
It's a good question for reflection.
It is.
So we've gone from preserving knowledge to leaving our mark,
Yeah.
searching for lost truths, achieving a higher understanding.
Right.
It's clear these degrees are not just random rituals.
Oh, no.
They're carefully structured,
Yeah.
guiding the candidate on this path of self-discovery, enlightenment.
It's a journey, for sure.
But there's more.
Oh, yeah.
The book mentions even more degrees, Knights Templar, Knight Kadosh, and so on. It's like there's always another level to strive for.
The journey continues.
It does, but before we dive into those, let's take a step back, What common threads are we noticing here?
Well, that emphasis on secrecy is undeniable. We see it in the penalties, the rituals,
Right.
the way knowledge is carefully guarded,
Yeah.
revealed in stages.
Right.
But it's not just about keeping secrets for the sake of it, right? It's about trust, fostering that bond, ensuring the integrity.
Safeguarding that knowledge,
direct.
that sense of tradition is definitely palpable,
Yes.
That reverence for these ancient rituals, the meticulous detail, it's like they're connecting to something much larger than themselves.
Absolutely.
Tapping into, centuries of wisdom and experience.
Powerful.
But what about the relevance for us as
Yeah.
modern Masons, right?
That's the key question.
Yeah.
Bridging that gap between tradition and modernity.
Yeah.
How do we take this ancient wisdom and apply it to, 21st century challenges.
That's a conversation we definitely need to explore further.
I agree.
And we'll do just that in part 2 of our deep dive.
Looking forward to it. Yeah, that question of relevance is, it keeps coming up, right? So especially when we look at degrees like the Knight Templar,
Right.
which, takes us back to the Crusades, warrior monks.
It's a pretty dramatic image.
Yeah.
The book really focuses on that historical context.
Right.
Their military prowess, dedication to Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
But then it jumps right into the ceremonies and rituals, even describes like how to properly open and close a Templar encampment.
Which, well, what is an encampment in this context?
Right.
It's not a physical location.
Well, according to the book, it seems to be more of a symbolic space.
Okay.
A gathering of Knights Templar, for ritualistic purposes.
Right, right.
It even outlines the whole installation ceremony for new knights,
Interesting.
taking an oath on the Holy Gospels with swords held over their hands.
Talk about a visual.
Right.
Swords, gospels adds to the whole drama.
It really does.
Symbolism?
And it makes me think about the oaths we take in our own Masonic journeys.
Uh-huh.
Are they just words, or do they hold a deeper significance, Do they really bind us to a higher standard?
That's something each Mason has to grapple with, I think.
Yeah.
But these ceremonies, the symbols, they definitely reinforce that idea that they're not to be taken lightly.
The book doesn't just gloss over the details either. It's
Yeah.
almost like a historical reenactment guide. Laying out the specific duties, the arrangement of banners, like every little thing has a symbolic meaning.
It's about creating an immersive experience,
Right.
drawing you in.
And speaking of immersive, there's that part where the candidate is sent on this symbolic crusade
Oh, yeah.
around the encampment, even facing challenges from past eminent commanders.
Did you, imagine yourself going through that?
I did, actually.
Yeah.
It made me think about, my own mentors,
Uh-huh.
the lessons I've learned, the obstacles I've had to overcome.
Right.
It's not always easy,
It's not.
but those challenges, I think, they make us stronger.
Absolutely. And at the heart of this degree is the Holy Sepulchre,
Right.
symbol of death and resurrection.
The book seems to be making a connection there between the historical knights and their defense of the Holy Land
Yeah.
and the candidate's own symbolic journey, seeking truth, enlightenment.
It's complex, history, symbolism, personal transformation, all woven together.
The book also mentions that both the Knight Templar and the Holy Royal Arch degrees. Uh-huh.
They weren't originally part of ancient Freemasonry.
Oh, interesting.
They were added later.
Makes you think about how traditions evolve,
Right.
adapt over time. Freemasonry, it's not static.
No.
It's constantly being reshaped by history, by new perspectives.
That evolution you mentioned, it makes me think about how these degrees all fit together.
Yeah.
Let's look at the Knight Kadosh, the 30th degree, in relation to what we've already discussed.
Okay, so this one seems to shift,
Oh,
from that historical operative focus to
Mhm.
something more philosophical, speculative.
the book describes this really intense reception ceremony.
Wow, yeah.
The candidate faces these symbolic trials, testing their commitment to Masonic principles.
So it's like they're confronting the darkness,
Yeah,
corruption in the world.
it is. And the setting, red and black columns, a double-headed eagle.
Whoa, very dramatic.
I know,
Yeah.
even the clothing is detailed, a black tunic, a scarlet mantle, a sword, a dagger,
Wow.
knightly gold spurs.
It's like being outfitted for battle. Right. But not a physical battle.
Right.
More of a, spiritual or philosophical one.
This degree draws upon the legacy of the Knights Templar,
Right.
not just their fighting, but their persecution.
Right.
The execution of their Grand Master, Jacques de Molay.
Right. A reminder of the dangers of corruption. Right.
Yeah,
Fighting for truth and justice.
even when it's hard.
Exactly. The book explicitly says the Knight Kadosh has to defend the weak, protect innocence, oppose tyranny.
That's a big responsibility.
It is.
Yeah.
How do those ideals translate into action today? How do we as Masons actually live up to that?
That's the question, isn't it? It's not enough to just admire those ideals.
Right.
We have to embody them.
In our actions, choices.
Exactly. In the world around us.
This degree isn't just about remembering the past.
No.
It's a call to action, right? To live up to that higher standard.
That challenge.
And speaking of higher standards, the book gives us a glimpse into the 31st degree, the Grand Inspector Inquisitor Commander.
Okay, so this one goes into leadership, judgment, the pursuit of justice.
Right, a role that requires wisdom, impartiality, a deep understanding of those Masonic principles.
For sure.
The book talks about making those tough decisions,
Yeah.
weighing evidence, judging fairly.
It's not easy.
No, and it quotes historical figures like Minos and Jesus,
Wow.
highlighting, mercy, forgiveness, righteous judgment.
It's a reminder for those in authority
Right.
to use their power wisely and justly.
It's not just about following the rules, right?
Right.
It's about that higher moral code.
The Grand Inspector Inquisitor Commander isn't just a judge,
Right.
but a guardian of the whole system.
And now, get ready, because we're entering the inner sanctum, the 32nd degree, the sublime prince of the royal secret.
Okay, so this one is presented as the pinnacle, right?
I guess.
The culmination of the candidate's quest.
The book doesn't hold back on the grandeur.
No.
A lavishly decorated hall, a complex hierarchy of officers, this elaborate ceremony with symbolic encampments, and a quest for ultimate truth.
Sounds impressive.
It is very impressive. The Sublime Prince is portrayed as someone who's attained this level of knowledge, wisdom.
Sets them apart.
It does, but it's not just about personal enlightenment, right?
Yeah.
They're charged with guiding the order.
Towards its highest aspirations.
Exactly.
It's a leadership role.
It is.
Profound understanding. A selfless commitment to the greater good.
The book describes this symbolic encampment with different colored tents,
Okay.
representing various degrees and principles.
Interesting.
At the center, a pentagon, symbolizing the 5 points of fellowship.
The Pentagon, powerful symbol, right?
It is.
Strength, unity, speaks to that interconnectedness of the degrees.
Right. How they build on each other.
Creating a whole.
And within that pentagon, a triangle, the symbol of the Sublime Prince.
Oh, wow. Like a visual representation
It is.
of their role.
Right at the center.
They're the guardian,
Yeah.
the interpreter, the leader.
Oh, even the clothing is described in detail. A white tunic, scarlet and gold sash, black apron with an embroidered double-headed eagle.
Wow, very symbolic.
I know. And then a jewel in the shape of a double-headed eagle resting on a Teutonic cross of gold.
It's not just decoration, right?
No.
It's a visual reminder.
Of their status, their responsibilities.
Exactly.
The book also describes a prayer invoking divine guidance and protection for the Sublime Prince.
I agree.
As they embark on this mission to restore to light those who have forgotten thee and thy truth.
It's powerful.
It really is.
Yeah.
Makes you think about how we can all be bearers of light,
Yeah.
in our own lives,
It's eliminating the darkness.
inspiring others.
Absolutely.
And finally, we reach the top, the 33rd degree, the Sovereign Grand Inspector General.
The summit.
It is.
Yeah.
The book acknowledges that a lot of this degree is still secret,
Right.
but it emphasizes that it's an honorary title.
A recognition of a lifetime of service.
Exactly. Achievement within the order.
The Sovereign Grand Inspector General is like the wise counselor, right?
Yes.
Guardian of tradition, the example of virtue.
It's interesting how the book, it's so detailed about those lower degrees, but then it becomes more restrained when describing this highest degree.
Maybe it's because true understanding can't be put into words.
Right.
You have to earn it.
Through experience, dedication.
Exactly.
But even with limited information, we still get some intriguing details.
Oh, yeah.
About the insignia, the regalia, a white-watered ribbon, a black and gold enameled Teutonic cross, a jewel with 2 crimson enameled triangles.
Like a visual shorthand, right?
Yeah.
Communicating so much through those symbols.
And those mottos, Laus Deo and Custos Arcanae,
Which means
praise be to God and guardian of secrets.
fitting.
It really is a fitting end to the Masonic journey.
It is, but even though we've reached the highest degree,
Right.
the journey's not over.
It's not.
Always more to learn, to understand, to give back.
That's the beauty of it, right?
It is.
A lifelong quest.
For knowledge, enlightenment, brotherhood.
And before we wrap up this part, there's one more thing I want to touch on.
Okay.
The colors associated with the different series of degrees.
Oh, right.
It's a color-coded guide.
It is. Blue for symbolic.
Yep.
Crimson for ineffable.
Light green or orange for historic.
Right.
White sprinkled with crimson for philosophical. Purple for historic and philosophical.
Wow, it's a lot.
It is. And then white and black for chivalric.
Okay.
And pure white for the Sovereign Grand Inspector General.
Of course, it's like the colors tell a story,
Can you-
revealing those connections.
The layers of meaning.
It's a reminder that every detail, every symbol, every ritual, it all has a purpose.
And together they create this incredible tapestry
They do.
of knowledge, tradition, and symbolism.
We've covered a lot of ground.
You have.
Explored those higher degrees, uncovered meanings, grappled with some big questions
Weird.
about how these traditions fit into our world today.
We have a lot to think about.
We do, but there's still more to discuss.
There is.
In part 3, we'll bring it all together,
Okay.
draw out some key takeaways, and think about what this all means for you.
Sounds good. Stay tuned for part 3 of our deep dive. So we've journeyed through those degrees
Yeah.
from preserving that ancient knowledge with the Royal Ark Mariners
Right.
to the pursuit of ultimate truth as a sublime prince.
The whole spectrum.
I know. It's time to, connect the dots, see what patterns emerge. What do you think? What stands out to you?
Well, going through this textbook of advanced Freemasonry, one thing's for sure, that tension between secrecy and relevance, it's palpable.
Right. The book is very clear about the importance of secrecy.
Absolutely.
Those dramatic penalties,
Yeah.
the rituals,
Mhm.
so carefully guarded.
Uh-huh.
But we've also talked about, actually applying these principles
Right, in our life.
in our modern lives. How do
Yep.
we reconcile those two things?
It's a balancing act, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
Secrecy, it protects, right?
Right.
It creates that bond of trust.
Within the brotherhood.
Exactly. But it also risks making Freemasonry seem irrelevant.
Or even suspicious,
To
right?
the outside world, yeah.
I have to admit, as I was reading through those descriptions
Oh.
of those elaborate ceremonies,
Yeah.
I did wonder, is it all a bit much?
Yeah.
Could all that symbolism actually be a barrier to understanding?
It's possible. I mean, symbolism's powerful,
Yeah.
but it can get overly complex, right?
Right.
Obscure the message. Freemasonry's got to find that balance.
Right, where the symbolism enhances but doesn't overwhelm.
Exactly.
How do you think this book speaks to that? Does it clarify those deeper meanings or just add to the mystery?
I think a little bit of both, honestly.
Okay.
It gives us a peek behind the curtain, right?
Right.
Of those higher degrees. Deepens our appreciation.
Of the tradition.
Yeah. But it also reminds us that true understanding, it's more than just, memorizing rituals or decoding symbols.
Right, it's about living it.
Exactly. It's
Yeah.
about internalizing those teachings, making them a part of your life.
It's not just the climb, it's what you do when you get there.
Well said.
We've talked about morality, virtue, service.
Those are the core themes.
They are, right, and they run through all the degrees.
From the very beginning.
All the way to the top.
Those are timeless values.
They are.
As relevant today as ever.
In a world that can feel so driven by, self-interest.
Materialism.
Yeah, exactly.
Freemasonry offers something different.
It does.
A path based on brotherhood, integrity, a higher purpose.
And those themes, they connect back to those roots, right?
They do.
Those operative masons building those amazing structures.
Skill, precision, commitment.
Qualities we still value today.
Absolutely, in every field.
It's true. Those tools, too.
The square, the compass, the level.
They've taken on this whole new meaning.
Symbolic, right?
Right.
Moral uprightness, intellectual clarity, that balance.
We're building something even greater now.
Than physical structures.
A better society, a more just one.
Compassionate, enlightened.
And it's a collective effort.
It is. Brotherhood, supporting each other.
That's crude.
Freemasonry gives you that network, right?
It does.
Like-minded people, a community.
To share, to learn, to make a difference.
Especially today, when so many people feel isolated.
Lost.
Yeah, this offers belonging, a shared purpose.
A reminder that we're not in this alone.
Exactly. Part of something bigger.
Something that goes beyond all those differences,
Culture, politics, time.
But within that, each journey is still unique.
It is. I'm curious, through this deep dive, what really resonated with you?
Good question. Was there a particular symbol, a ritual, that sparked something new?
Or challenged your thinking?
This textbook of advanced Freemasonry, it's just one perspective.
Right.
There are so many others out there.
Books, interpretations, personal journeys.
That's what makes it so rich.
It does.
So we've explored those secrets.
Decoded the symbols.
Grappled with those big questions.
The real work starts now.
It does.
Taking these teachings.
And applying them.
Making them your own.
The journey never really ends.
It doesn't. There's always more.
To discover, to understand, to give back.
That's the beauty of it.
It is. And remember, you're not alone out there.
You've got your brothers.
We do. Keep seeking, keep questioning, keep building.
Until next time.